Good day.
Hello.
Good day.
Hello.
All right, so we just want to talk about um, communication patterns that are toxic in a
Mm.
marriage.
One of the biggest pandemics in
Yeah,
marriage,
lack of communication.
communication is one of them.
Yeah, actually, this is statistically true.
Yeah.
That the number one cause or the number one reason for
Mm.
divorce in South Africa is communication. And that is in various levels.
Yeah.
The actually it's not communication; it's the lack of communication.
Yeah, and
Right?
it's not just in SA. Interesting enough,
International.
it's a global thing.
Yeah.
Communication is a big thing.
It's a big thing. Lack of communication.
You'll think communication because it's what we do every day.
Yeah.
So you'll think how somehow we should find a way of.
And I always like saying,
getting each other.
It's been centuries since Eve was introduced to Adam in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
You would think by now we would have figured each other out.
No. That's not going to happen. Not anytime soon.
We are complicated. Women are complicated. But
not
anyway.
When you guys are still like this.
Women are very complicated.
But anyway, back to the subject.
So we want to talk about the toxic communication patterns. That cause a dysfunction in a marriage. And and we did say, it being the lack of communication or these toxic behaviors during communication, they cause a discord in a marriage. They cause a relationship to break down.
Yeah.
And we kind of felt like we do talk about, lack of communication where money is concerned. Disagreement about in-laws, disagreements about life goals, disagreement about all these about raising children and so on. But there are hidden causes of dysfunction in communication. And want to just talk about a few of them, whether, and we're not going to talk about it, but narcissism is one of those. Gaslighting is one of those.
Yeah.
Silent treatment is one of those.
Jumping into conclusions.
Is one of those.
And I think also not being validated.
Yeah.
Or you feel like emotionally. Your partner is not validating you.
And we want to talk about that. And actually, let's talk about that. About emotional validation, where you kind of feel like your feelings are not taken into account. Right? When I say this is wrong or this hurts me or this shouldn't be done this way or and all of that, your partner kind of feels like you feel like your partner overlooks that. So there is no validation of. So we feel that is one of the causes of dysfunction in communication.
No, definitely, because when you feel like you are invalidated, it gets to a point where you close up or where you sort of create a wall between you and your partner, because I think being invalidated can go on for so long, but it gets to a point where you're like, you know what?
Yes, you kind of build a wall.
I'm done. You can continue having your conversation by yourself. I'm not part of that conversation and all of that. So it's very important that you validate your partner, because this is what happens. Let me give you an example. It's like, sweetheart, I will say to you that, you know what, when we actually used to have this issue in the beginning. Hope you don't mind me.
Sure,
sharing.
by all means.
When we started dating, Mo had this flirty way about himself. You will be so available to
I'll be
women.
Nice.
He calls it nice, but
I'm
for
nice.
me, I kind of thought he was very flirting.
I'm nice.
But he called it nice. But
Pini wanted me to be like, hey,
no,
get out.
But
Hey,
you can't be.
Hey.
Let me tell you what happened. This other time, I think it was probably our first or second event that we attended together. And there was this friend of mine.
Oh, I remember.
I won't mention the name.
I could mention her name.
This friend, I think because you were flirty, this friend was flirty. It just became like a flirty sort of mesh or mismesh. I don't know what to call it. This friend of mine ended up holding your hand.
Yes.
And you didn't say no, stop it.
Yes.
You held her hand.
Hey.
So we're getting out of this.
And Pindi, nobody held Pindi's hand.
No, but the thing is, you are dating me.
I know.
So I'm thinking, okay, what the heck, So we leave this movie. We're in a theatre production.
Yes.
So we're moving this theatre production, and you're holding her hand, and I kind of feel weird. Thinking,
it does actually look weird.
On
reflection, it does.
What the heck? What's wrong with you? So we got out, and I said to him, listen, I'm not sure if you were aware, but you were holding so-and-so's hand.
Yeah.
What was... And he said, no, she gave me a hand, and I didn't see anything wrong.
No, You know
what I'm saying?
But no, there's everything wrong with that.
The point with that is, I told you how that makes me feel.
Yes.
At first, you were kind of feel like you were not validating my feelings.
Yes.
At first you were like, no, but this is who I am.
No, you're being too sensitive.
And I'm a nice person. And
yes. You're right.
You are. And I said to you, no, forget about, take my feelings into consideration. This is how I feel. When you are holding a hand, when you are dating me.
Yeah.
It's not about being nice.
Yes.
For me, it's actually being flirty when you level.
I get you.
But it took you long for you to actually get it. I mean, for the longest time, you were saying, no, man, I'm just being nice. Yeah. What was she going to think if I let go of her hand?
Yes,
and I was like, no, you shouldn't be worried about what she will think.
No, that
you
was...
need to worry about
as I said, on reflection, that's...
You need to worry about what I feel
cool.
more than what she thinks, because
we're
not worried about her feelings at this point.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
So...
That's a good example.
So validating means you understand where the person comes from. And
or at least acknowledge where the person comes from.
At least acknowledge where the person comes from.
Yeah.
And understand where they come from. But also, the other one, you mentioned it briefly, when we were talking earlier on, is that of jumping to conclusions. That is that of thinking you know your partner so much that
I'm guilty. I was guilty of that.
that they don't even have to finish a sentence. They don't even have to finish doing something. You know what they're going to say. And you jump into conclusion.
Yeah.
That is,
the danger.
That can be quite...
But I think for me, because
cause a dysfunction.
I used to be guilty of that.
Yeah.
It would assume... It would be more like assuming what you mean by saying certain things, So you would say...
So it's kind of like mind reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will say when I'm exhausted and whatever, or I don't feel like...
Yeah.
And I would conclude into, okay, so you are saying that because...
Yes.
And sometimes you'll sit me down to say, no.
Yes.
When I said that, I wasn't meaning...
Yes.
For me, it was purely because I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I'm not meaning anything else besides, what I am meaning. And I think for me, it was just that confusion of when you say something, I would immediately jump into a conclusion.
Yes.
Perhaps instead of hearing you out.
Yes.
Because when I hear you out, or when I allow you an opportunity to explain yourself, you'll be able to get into your exact point.
Yes.
Instead of me jumping into conclusions before you even get to what you are
that
really
can be quite frustrating.
And I found myself in that situation a number of times where I kind of feel like, I think I jumped into conclusion too early there. I could have just allowed you to have your say.
Yeah.
And perhaps you will explain, why you did what you did.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Allow the person to finish. And if you feel like you or if you've got that issue of jumping to conclusions, really just, allow the person to say, look, whatever they want to say. And rather ask a question. Are you saying that because of, am I reading you correctly? That kind of thing. Yeah. A jumping to conclusion can be quite devastating. But here's another one.
Yours is being defensive.
Defensiveness.
Oh, my word. Sweetheart.
Defensiveness, let me tell you, defensiveness can be quite tiring even to the person that is being defensive.
Who's being defensive, ne?
It can be quite, look, it has to do, in my case specifically, how I grew up, right?
So background will
play a big role. How I grew up, we grew up in a big family of siblings, right? There were 9 of us. Yeah. And we're cousins all living in the same house. And I was always accused. If there's something that goes wrong, we know who the first suspect. Everybody know who the first suspect is, and that damaged me a lot.
It almost damaged us because I used to fight that sweetheart, and I used to get so worried. Yeah. Because even the slightest comment about anything, it's like.
Yeah, it's the need to be understood. It's the need for somebody to see things from my point of view. It's the need for you to say, I understand. It may not be the correct way of doing it, but I understand why you did that. Do you get what I'm saying? It's the need to be accepted, the needs or the fear of rejection. It's a conglomerate. It's a mesh of a whole lot of dysfunctions. And toxicities that you picked up, as you grow up. As we say, getting married, you don't just marry the person that you are with. Yeah. You marry their history.
Your history in the mix.
You marry their emotional baggage too. You know what I mean? And you become a very important figure in their healing. In their restoration, in them, being whole. You know what I mean? And thank you so far. You've been...
Come here. Please, sweetie. Look...
That's how I melt her.
You are better. Like, you are better now.
Please. And then she rolls her eyes as though she doesn't want it. Come here.
No, sweetie, but the truth is, there's been improvement in that area. Yeah. But it used to frustrate me quite a bit.
I remember.
Because, you get to a point where you kind of feel like, you're just giving up on this person. Because, you can't be defending, but I get where it's coming from, and I hear you. Yes. And I mean, there's no way if you grew up in an environment where the first thing you knew what to do was to defend yourself. Yeah. So even when you get into a marriage, it becomes the first point.
It becomes your...
Hey, let me save myself.
Default position.
It's a default position. It's the only way you get out of trouble. But sometimes you kind of misuse that, even when it's not meant bad. Because where I would be coming from, I would not be coming from because I'm really accusing you. But it's because I just want to find out, so how did this happen? Oh, so, this is what you did. But I would find you being on the defense, and from that point, it becomes difficult for me to engage.
I understand. That's why I said it becomes tiring even to the person that is being defensive.
I can imagine it's quite tiring.
Because, sweetie, when you grow up and you feel like you don't have anyone defending you, you feel like you don't. And I grew up, I don't have a big brother. You know what I mean? I didn't have somebody who will stand in the gap for me. I've always... So it was you or nobody? Always had to fend for myself. Yeah. Always. And one of the things, and this is, kind of the tragic things, one of the things that does, it takes you to the next one, which is projection. When you deflect your feelings to somebody else, to your spouse.
Oh, that is such
it is such a pain to somebody when you attribute how you feel, when you attribute how, when you attribute your own undesired traits to somebody else, to your spouse in this case. That is one of the...
It's so painful.
One of the painful
because
things that can cause dysfunction in a marriage.
You actually are fighting your own demons
through somebody else.
But now you are using this other person to fight basically to fight your own internal sort of fights.
When you deflect, basically, when you say to somebody, "No, you are the one lying."
You are projecting all of these things to someone else.
It's really, really not cool.
I think the biggest in marriage is when one is cheating.
Oh yes,
that's the biggest form of projection. When one is cheating, they would somewhat say, I'm suspecting that you are doing something.
Yes,
and you're like.
And by the way, nobody has accused you of cheating, but your own conscience is eating you up. And when your partner is picking up or is on the phone, genuinely on the phone, because you are cheating, you know what you do when you're on the phone.
So when someone is on the phone innocently, it's always seen like,
I wonder what is he up to.
So who are you talking to?
Who are you talking to?
Who,
and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you are the one who's cheating. And it's in the same family as gaslighting.
Yes.
When you gaslight somebody, when your partner points out a wrong in you, and then you deflect that to make it their wrong, to make it seem like they're the reason why.
They are at fault.
They are at fault. You know what I mean? In fact, they won't even accept that they're at fault. They will make you to be the one who's moving on. I mean, continuing with the cheating example, if spouse A caught spouse B cheating, and then they will say, no, the reason I cheated is because you do this. It's because you do that. And now, all of a sudden, the other person who did not cheat is now supposed to feel guilty.
So basically, you're shifting the blame.
Shifting the blame.
Because initially the blame was about you cheating.
Yes.
But it's no longer about that.
These are dysfunctional communication patterns that kill marriages.
Yeah.
And maybe the other one is keeping scores. You did this.
That's.
And therefore, I'm gonna do this as well.
It's so
very childish, eh?
It's very childish.
Immature.
It's very painful, yet very childish.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't think that. Oh my gosh, I hate that one.
Yeah.
I hate that one because it almost shifts ownership. Don't I take ownership of anything that has happened or what we have done?
Yeah.
You kind of feel like I will do it because you also did it.
I will do it because you did it. I will also do it as a way of settling a score.
Yes.
Because you did this, I'm gonna do it too. As well.
It's a never-ending.
Yeah.
It almost becomes a never-ending sort of battle because you will never get to the end of it.
Because you keep bringing up a past of your partner for what they did, which was wrong, and now you kind of feel like now where you kind of have a right to do it. Guys, these are dysfunctional communication patterns. We don't talk about them because they are not on your face.
Yeah.
The other one we could talk about is controlling behaviors. Wherein you exert your controlling behavior on your spouse. In other words, you want your spouse to do things the way you do them.
Sure.
And
if they don't follow that pattern, then there's something
hell
wrong with
breaks
them.
loose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So these patterns, if you do not keep check of them, they are silent killers in a marriage. Because there's one partner who is going to endure this.
Yeah.
And I use the word endure because it's painful. And the acts are painful.
Yeah.
And then they endure this behavior, but it will be up until a certain point.
Yeah.
Where they feel like, you know what, enough is enough.
I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
Or someone will just ignore them,
Oh, yeah.
Pretend as though you're not controlling.
Yeah.
Pretend as though you're not gaslighting them.
Yeah.
Pretend as though you are...
You're not being defensive.
You're not being defensive when they speak to you. All of these things under pretense until there comes a point And sometimes, most of the time actually,
yeah.
you find that, because of all these things that they've been suppressing, you do one tiny little thing, somebody just loses it.
Bursts and so on.
And immediately they're like, you know what, I'm done. It's over. And you're like, but why?
You don't understand.
It can't be over because I just...
the reason you don't understand is because this for a long time has been an accepted way of doing things, accepted means of living.
Yeah.
And because of that, now I'm surprised as to why now all of a sudden...
Yeah, I can't drop your phone and then you say, let's divorce.
You know what I'm saying?
It was all of these things that you've just...
compounded and so on. Guys, be on guard for these things because they can mess up your marriage. And the communication can be so affected and negatively so that your relationship experiences a breakup even when it's not supposed to.
And remember, communication is the top 5 reason globally why people go separate ways.
The number 1 reason in South Africa. Subscribe on the channel. Please like this video so that other people can see.
Click the link below. Subscribe. What else?
Yeah, subscribe and you like.
Comment.
Oh, yes, comment. Oh, you know this. Sorry, we're kind of new in this.
Comment. Love y'all.
Love y'all. Be good.